Dear friends, all of us are familiar with the notion that God's ways of doing things are entirely different from those of human beings. One area where this difference is very evident is in choice of people for significant jobs. For example, in a company, if the owner wants a manager to be appointed, he will look for the most suitable candidate physically, mentally, and emotionally. But God seems to work in contrast to it. Let us look at Jesus' choice of 12 disciples. Nowadays, in professional companies, it is a custom to scrutinize the prospective employees in order to find out whether they are fit for the jobs they would assume. If Jesus' disciples had been scrutinized, what would have been the report? Here follows an imaginative report of a modern-day professional company. Simon Peter is emotionally unstable and given to fits of temper. Andrews has absolutely no qualities of leadership. The two brothers, James and John, sons of Zebedee, place personal interest above company loyalty. Thomas demonstrates a questioning attitude that could undermine morale of the community. We have to inform you that Matthew has been blacklisted by the Greater Jerusalem Better Business Bureau. James, son of Alphaeus, and Thaddeus have radical bearings with the manic depressive overtones. The only one we can recommend highly is Judas Iscariot, who should be your controller and right-hand man. He has a keen business mind and he has contacts in high places. This would be the probable report. Even among the 12 disciples, if the last place is to be given, it should be for Peter. Let us see some of his characteristics. First of all, he is an emotionally charged person who was not well in touch with reality. For example, when Jesus said that Peter would deny him, immediately Peter answered, "Even though I must die with you, I will not deny you." Matthew 26:35. But we know what happened later. Secondly, he was an impetuous and impatient man. Seeing Jesus walking on the sea, he too wanted to walk. It is like a child wanting to imitate what his father does. Similarly, when Jesus asked him again and again whether he loves him, Peter was a bit sad. John 21:17. Thirdly, he followed Jesus with a lot of worldly expectations. "Look, we have left everything and followed you," he said. Mark 10:28. It implies that he expected something from Jesus as a return. Fourthly, he does not seem to have much of spiritual orientation. In the Garden of Gethsemane, he was the one who was sleeping. Lastly, after the death of Jesus, he was the first one to fall out from his relationship with Jesus. According to John, he was the one who called the other disciples to go back to their old profession of fishing. John 21:3. All these things point out that Peter was not the right choice. First of all, to be an apostle, and secondly, to be the rock on which Jesus was to build his church. I am sure that even the fellow apostles might have thought of Jesus' choice of Peter as a foolish one. But the history proves how right Jesus was. Indeed, God's ways of working are entirely different from those of human beings. It is this wisdom of God about which St. Paul in today's second reading speaks of in high manner. He exclaims, "Oh, the depth of the riches and wisdom and knowledge of God! How unsearchable are his judgments and how inscrutable his ways." There are two reasons why God chooses those who are considered to be qualified to be unqualified and unfit. First of all, St. Paul says, God chose what is low and despised in the world, things that are not, to reduce to nothing things that are, so that no one might boast in the presence of God. 1 Corinthians chapter 1 verses 28 and 29. If God calls the wise and the intelligent, then there are more probabilities that these so-called wise people, though they achieve everything with the help of God, would claim that they achieved everything with their own power and strength. Precisely, this is what we see in today's first reading. Shebna was a secretary and writer in the palace of King Hezekiah. Though it was God who gave him that office, he behaved in a high-handed manner, believing in himself. Normally, we hear of people who boast of their houses. Shebna was the one who boasted of his grave, which he had dug for himself on a hilltop. God, through the prophet Isaiah, warned that Shebna would be destroyed on account of his pride. The second reason is God sees in those people certain things which others do not notice. Probably what Jesus might have noticed in Peter was his eagerness that was lying behind his impetuous and emotional nature. Dear friends, when it is said that God chooses those who are considered to be low in the worldly standard does not mean that we have to be stupid and unfit in order to be God's instrument. The point is that we should not allow our intelligence and ability to come across the workings of God. Quite often we so much rely upon our intelligence and ability to the extent of saying no to God. This is the reason why God prefers the so-called lowly people. So to be a disciple of God, the necessary quality we need to possess is to create space for God and His promptings in us. Jesus saw this quality in Peter and in the other apostles. Let us end our reflections with the famous prayer called Suscipe by St. Ignatius of Loyola. Take, Lord, and receive all my liberty, my memory, my understanding, and my entire will, all I have and call my own. You have given all to me. To you, Lord, I return it. Everything is yours. Do with it what you will. Give me only your love and your grace. That is enough for me. Amen.